across the vista. The Republicans were good. They hadn't hesitated. They had responded decisively to the swarms of hegemony fighters tearing through them and the hordes of jump mechs appearing in their vicinity. They may not have hesitated, but they hadn't responded effectively. The huge cannons and myriad weapons of the orbital fortresses were designed to ward off a conventional assault, to deal with fleets led by capital ships spiraling into orbit from above, not hundreds of fighters striking at them from below. And definitely not thousands of jump mechs screaming down to the surface of the world they hung over. No, the Aerospace Corps, the fighter and bomber arm of the hegemony's military, couldn't fight the Republic on their terms. So Galton had changed those terms to ones they could win. The gently curved line of the horizon crept up the cockpit window as her mech fell from orbit, the fires from re-entry already flickering up the war machine's hull. She felt the buffeting of entry as she hit the atmosphere proper. Spread across her vision, she could see thousands of fiery streaks plummeting with her. Her jump mech rocked as a squadron of S-91 Wolfspace superiority fighters blurred past vertically down, the agile craft plummeting to the surface ahead of her invasion force, leaving a trail of turbulence. Anti-aerospace fire opened up from the surface. Wispy spirals of missiles, ineffective against the agile fighters' electronic warfare suites, were deadly against the vulnerable mechs. Flak blossomed all around her. Streamers of pulse fire arced across the sky, both from above and below. The clouds of descending jump mechs were riddled with the staccato of explosions. Hest felt herself being thrust back and forth within the tight confines of her cockpit, knowing death could come at any time with no more warning than seeing her mech disintegrate around her, leaving her to fall screaming to the surface. One of her platoon mates exploded next to her as a missile slammed into the falling mech, turning it into a shower of debris tumbling alongside her. She gritted her teeth, her fear turning to anger at the loss. Another son or daughter of Galton dead, along with many others, before they'd even truly engaged the enemy. She forced down the anguish at the loss. Now was not the time to mourn. Hest glanced at the altimeter as she punched through a misty layer of stratus cloud. 100,000 feet. Close enough. AA fire is heavy. All mechs drop pods. She didn't wait for an acknowledgement. Instead, she reached up and flicked 4 switches. With a series of thuds, the drop pods released from the mech's back and plunged down alongside her amid a shower of chaff and flares, a probably vain attempt to ward off the fire seeking her out. All around, the radar returns multiplied as the others did the same. Thousands of mechs each loosed 4 drop pods containing a soldier. But even that impressive force would be a drop in the ocean against the resources of an entire world. Among the descending cloud of jump mechs and personnel drop pods, assault shuttles plunged down, adding thousands more troops to the fray. And far above, the heavy transports containing tens of thousands more soldiers would already be entering the system, perfectly synchronized for when a huge explosion illuminated the night side. One of the Republic's much-vaunted fortresses had been destroyed, leaving a gaping hole in Asteria's defensive coverage which the transports would wedge into. The altimeter spun down. More fighters surged past, the punished pilots likely redded out by the intense negative G they were subjected to as they plunged into the atmosphere. The vibration of her passage distorted her vision as her deceleration rockets fired, but even so, from the horizon, monstrous mushroom clouds bloomed into existence. Each one was a pyre on which thousands were dying. Hest winced at the thought of the vile nuclear weapons being used, but they were cheap and they were effective. And it was no more than what the Republic and the Kingdom had inflicted on the worlds and allies of the Galton Imperium all those years ago. She closed on the surface. Explosions stitched across fields and from clusters of buildings as she raced toward them. It was time she stopped being a passenger. Soon her work would begin. Her keen eye sought the small town, which was her immediate objective. With a thunderous burst of retro rockets, the jump mech slammed into the ground. A geyser of dirt erupted from the force of her impact. The 4 drop pods of her mounted infantry speared into the field next to Hest. She keyed a switch. The actuator braces tightened around her arms and legs, transferring her muscle movements into driving the mech's limbs. The mech, Hest, reflexively ducked as a lance of light appeared. A beamer anti-armor laser narrowly missed her. She stood from her crouch on the fire-blackened dirt, raising her arm and clenched her fist. Her pulse cannon fired. A withering hail of electric blue rounds riddled the building the beam had come from. Destruction scythed through it, turning the structure into a battered, collapsing shell. Something pinged off her armor. A brave, foolish...